This is the Motivated Business Show, hosted by me, Mark Terrell, the author of Motivated, the Reluctant Leader's Guide to Building a Business that Sets You Free. In my book, I share the 7-step process to get the measure of your business. M.E.A.S.U.R.E is an acronym that stands for Mirror, Evaluate, Action, Systemize, Unify, Review, and Energize. On each episode, I'll be chatting to a business owner about how they stay motivated and how they've got the measure of their business. So without further ado, let's find out who's joining me on this episode. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Motivated Business Show with me, Mark Terrell. Today's guest, well, I've only just met her actually. We've been linked in or connected on LinkedIn for a little while. And so I'm going to be learning a lot about what she does. So looking forward to that. I'm in the second throes of the dreaded hay fever, which I don't normally get this time of the year. So I'm hoping that that's not going to disrupt the podcast too much. So we can hopefully get through the next half an hour without me sneezing all over the place. Right, so but without further ado, let's just introduce a few things that we always do at the start of the podcast. That's my book, Motivated, which you can buy. You can buy it from Amazon in paperback, or you can buy it in Kindle form, or you can buy it direct from me. And in that book, I talk about a 7-step process, which I call getting the measure of your business, because it's 7 steps, and it's the M.E.A.S.U.R.E, which are each set of the 7 steps, which starts with M for mirror. So I'm going to be talking about that towards the end of the podcast, so look out for that. If you would like to contribute to the podcast, just to keep it on the rails, as it were, then you can buy me a coffee. That all those contributions help to pay for all the costs, because we're not sponsored here. And there's a QR code if you want to click straight through to that. And if you buy me 2 coffees, then I will send you a copy of my book. So hopefully that's an offer that you can't resist. Right, let's crack on and bring on today's guest. Welcome, Judith.
Oh, hi, Mark. It's great to be here. Thank you for this opportunity.
Looking forward to the conversation. Right, let's get started by, first of all, giving you the opportunity to introduce yourself properly.
Oh, thank you. So I'm Northern Irish. I moved over to England when I was 22. So that's quite a few years ago now. And I live in the smallest county in England. It might even be the smallest county in the UK, but it's certainly the smallest county in England, in Rutland, which is in the East Midlands. And my background is I'm a chartered management accountant. That's the accountants that work in businesses that help them to grow and be profitable, and all the strategic side of stuff. It's not the accountant that does the accounts or VAT returns. And I'm also a trained business coach. And I emphasize the trained because there's a lot of people out there who are working as business coaches that haven't done any training. And I'm not here to judge, but it was important to me that I got some formal training. So I just like to emphasize that I've been trained up by the Business Coaching Academy in London. So I support small businesses and self-employed people to make a success of their business, whatever success means to them. And I did work for a long time, employed mostly in the public sector in senior positions like Deputy Director of Finance and Associate Director of Finance Performance, those sorts of roles. And then almost 10 years ago, I walked away from all of that, which I know we're going to talk about in a minute, and set up my own business where basically I went and helped in the small business sector or self-employed people. And then my latest baby is Grow Her Business, along with my lovely business partner, Elaine Atherton. So that's kind of me. In terms of personal stuff, I've got a little grandson who I adore. I've got 2 sons, one's in the army, one's doing a PhD. I've got a dog and a cat, and I'm just very much a family person. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight.
Brilliant. Lots of insight there. Thank you for sharing all that, Judith. So let's start with that sort of conundrum, I suppose, with people that are considering leaving an employed situation and they've got that idea for that small business And that's one of those big decisions in life, isn't it? Having the security, or so say security of an organisation that's employing you, to actually jumping ship and starting something out for yourself, which is an aspiration for a lot of people. But obviously, there's lots of things to take into consideration, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And there are so many people out there in employed positions that are so unhappy, and they're dreading that Monday morning. But at the same time, I do understand why it's not easy to just think, well, I'll just leave and do whatever I want to do. But there are people who do make that transition and do make a success of it. Um, I I've learned a lot in the 10 years, and I'm actually in a lot of ways doing some very different stuff now than what I was doing when I first started out. But in terms of if someone's out there with an idea of something they'd like to set up as a business on their own, there are things you can do to get yourself as prepared as possible. So one of the first things would be being clear about what it is you would do if you left your employed job. So, and validating it. Is it something that is gonna fly, or at least has a good chance of flying? So, lots of research needs to be done there. Interestingly, I was reading Lisa Johnson's book about making money online, and she said that to be an expert on a subject, you just have to be the person who knows the most about a subject in an average sized room, which was really quite an interesting take on it, because I
Yeah.
think people like would think to be an expert, you need to be, the person, in your time that knows everything about something. Anyway, going back to the preparation, so being clear about what it is you could do, and doing some work and research on it to see if, is it something that people need and want. Um, Getting a pot of cash together, because you aren't going to just finish your employed job one day and get clients the next. That's not going to happen. Well, it could happen, but it's unlikely.
Yeah.
So get a pot of cash together, at least 6 months worth of money to pay your bills. If you've got a partner who could maybe carry the can for a few months, that's brilliant, but not everybody's going to be in that situation. If you can start a side hustle before you leave your employed role, that's brilliant. So start. I know it's going to be hard. You're going to be working in your job and then doing your side hustle, but it's only for a period of time. So if you can start the side hustle, build up your client base, build up your reputation, that would be brilliant. And then even better if you could then start to reduce your hours in your employed job and build up the self-employed role, that's perfect. Not always possible, but if that's something you could do, start networking whilst you're still employed. There's lots of networking events that happen in the evening, whether that's online or in face to face. What else have I got in my list? But in terms of thinking about what it is you could do, start with listing. If you're not sure, if you're thinking, I'd love to just be my own boss, but I don't know what I could do, is list all the things that you're good at. What are your skills? What is your expert area of knowledge? And what brings you passion? Because at the end of the day, you may have a skill in doing something, but if you're not passionate about it, don't do it, because you'll regret it. So that would be sort of my advice in terms of, it's not impossible. It's very possible, but you need to prepare and you need to get your mindset right. Because like
Yeah.
you said, that security, there is security in being employed. I know not as much nowadays as it was maybe 30, 40 years ago, but there is security. So there's mindset work you can do as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting what you said about people dreading going to work on a Monday morning, and ironically, that's the day that we're recording this. So, and it is that, isn't it? It's that dreaded sort of, well, it comes in on sort of Sunday afternoon, they reckon, isn't it? When people start to get a bit like, oh my God, I've got to go to work again. So yeah, that's. I mean, life's too short for that to happen. But ultimately, the decision got to be made somehow, and it's about understanding how to make that transition. So, and I love the way you said, about making sure that you've got some money in the bank, so the pressure's off. And that's one of the things I think that is important, to make sure that you're in the right state, mindset wise, that you can make the right decision. Because if you're making decisions based on, I must make a sale this week or
Yeah,
this month, then
yeah,
that tends to come through as a bit desperate, doesn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah. So with regards to what you do then, Judith, you are a trained business coach, as you said.
Yeah.
So what tends to be the first step? People tend to come to you before they've made the step, or do they? Is it tends to be that they've started out and then they start struggling, so they need to sort of reach
Yeah.
out and get some support?
Yeah, absolutely. I have yet to work with someone who hasn't left. But Grow Her Business, which is the I set it up with my business partner Elaine Atherton, who's a sales coach and has a fantastic CV herself, and we have very different skills, obviously, same values and principles, but very different skills. And what Grow Her Business is there for ladies who are thinking and wanting to leave the employed world to go self-employed, but also for ladies who've already done that. So we focus on the service-based businesses because that's where Elaine and I's expertise sits.
Yeah.
So we support ladies at the moment. All our ladies are ladies who have already made that leap, and they need that extra support, and they want and need to be part of a community. But it is also there for ladies who are wanting to leave employed. Um, our latest uh, our latest offering is a free Facebook group called Women Doing It for Themselves,
Right.
literally launched less than 2 weeks ago. And in there, we've got a number of ladies who are still employed and wanting to go self-employed. So that's kind of our niche. Our niche is the service-based ladies that want to leave employed to go self-employed or already have, and they're in the early years.
Yeah.
And there are a number of common issues that come out, and I was there myself, went 10 years ago. So it's like, well, what outcomes, what are the outcomes that I'm actually providing to clients? Am I clear myself on what it is I'm actually providing? Because if I'm not clear, then my clients aren't going to be clear, and I'm not going to get any clients. Things like pricing, that's always one of the first things that come up when I work with a client, or a client, a member comes in to grow our businesses. I don't know how to price my services, and I don't want to overprice, but I don't want to undervalue as well. And so that's another one. Marketing, social media marketing is really hot, as you well know. And there are some ladies that, other than, posting family stuff on Facebook, they don't understand what it is they need to do, or how to get their message right, and what time of the day to post, and what's a good post, and all that stuff, and how do you monitor, what marketing's going well and what's not going well. So there's a number of things that ladies come to us with an issue. And mindset is in there as well. That's a big thing. Whether you've just left or you want to leave employed world, that whole imposter syndrome comes in, and oh, what if it doesn't work out? And oh, am I good enough? Oh, I look at all these other people on social media and they seem to have it all together. And there's a whole sort of plethora of things. Unfortunately, being really good at something, your expertise is not enough to be successful as a business owner. There is
Yeah.
so many other hats that you need to wear. And actually, to quote Elaine, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know who to ask.
Yeah.
But when you first start out, I did this. When I first started out, I thought I needed to know everything. So I went off researching and going down rabbit holes and spending hours and days, when actually I should have just reached out to somebody. But I didn't have a community at the start. And, I now have a brilliant community, but I didn't have at
Yeah.
the start. And another big thing about Grow Her Business is that community of trusted experts.
There's a great book about that, which is Who Not How, which I recommend. I think it's
Brilliant.
written by Dan Sullivan or something like that. But that's a really important lesson, isn't it? If you try to do everything, then you just become a busy fool, and that's not going to grow your business. Is it?
Yeah, and I absolutely made that mistake at the start. I tried to do everything. I thought I should know everything. I thought I should do everything myself. I was trying to save money, so I did everything myself. And it was, it wasn't until the light bulb started to go on that I thought, yeah, and then that's when things started to turn around.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned you've got communities that you set up. So
Yeah.
are you so passionate about the importance of communities in particular?
Oh, right. So I didn't have a community at the start, and I know Elaine didn't as well. And that's, one of the things that we wished we'd had. We've set Grow Her Business up because we wished we'd had something like this when we started. But whether it's Grow Her Business or whether it's some other community, a community is important for a number of reasons. And in the business world, I mean, obviously you can have communities in all sorts of guises, but in terms of being a business owner, the reason why a community is important is feeling part of a family, because that is what it is. It's feeling like you can pick the phone up if you're struggling with an idea or a thought, or you're just having a bad day, or you're having a great day and you want to tell somebody. Being self-employed is very lonely. Very lonely. I mean, I work at home on my own. Thankfully, I've got the Labrador behind me, but he sleeps most of the day, and having a community is, it's like having a business. It's like having a team. When I loved working, in some respects, I loved working in my employed jobs because I was in an office with lots of people and we had banter and we'd get each other a coffee and we'd know if someone wasn't feeling great that day. We'd go, "You're right," yeah, but you don't have that when you're on your own working at home. So just having a feeling like you've got people there, either, on the end of a text or a phone or an email. Um, Having trusted experts, that's what I lacked at the start. So I was trying to do everything myself. And then sometimes I was listening to, Bob down the pub who'd give me his penny's worth, which was just totally not helpful. So knowing that I have literally everybody that I could ever think of that I could pick the phone up to, work and personal. If something goes wrong in my personal life, I know I've got somebody I can call. So having a set of trusted experts around you that you can give them a call if you're stuck with something. Cheerleaders when things are going well, but also people that will say, "Come on, let's put the kettle on," or let's go for that virtual coffee, or indeed face-to-face coffee or beer or whatever. So somebody that's going to let you, just offload, and then they'll go, "Right, okay, let's talk about this." Um, Ideas, bounce ideas off each other, collaboration. Elaine and I are collaborating, and we met networking, a few years ago. So, um, and creativity flows when you're with people. You're unlikely to be mega creative if you're on your own. Now, obviously there's people out there who are very creative on their own, but I need people around me to think about new ideas. So they're just some of the things about a community. It's that feeling like you're part of a group. You're not dangling on your own. So if you're having a bad day, you've got somebody there that you can have a chat with.
And that's where a business coach is important, isn't it? And I think a lot of people think a business coach is just someone that's going to tell you what to do, but actually, from my experience, it's more about actually being someone that's going to listen, play
Yeah,
things back, and also
yeah,
just think about just say, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that?
yeah,
Because it's very difficult. Going back to this sort of expertise that we've got, is that we see the expertise in one sort of way, which
yeah,
helps maybe one scenario, but when you start mixing and sharing knowledge, then other people come in and say, well, have you thought about actually what you do could really sort of help here, and which you
yeah.
never would have thought of unless that person was in the room, because they've had obviously different experiences
Right.
to you. So
Yeah,
that's that
yeah,
that creativity. I absolutely agree. Is that when you bring people together, it's amazing what can come out of it, isn't it?
yeah. And the other thing about a community as well is accountability. So, if you start saying to people in your community, "Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this," you can't like, and they hold you supportively to account. We're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of saying, "Oh, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that," and then it never gets done, because for a number of reasons. It can be you've just got a lot on your plate and you do all the things that maybe are easier to do or that you enjoy more. But, accountability is a big part of being a big benefit of being part of a community as well.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, we've got to be resilient, haven't we, as business owners, and realise that when things don't quite go to plan, so those
Yeah.
things that we thought were going to go, those failures that come along, it's actually realising that there's something to learn from every failure, isn't there? And also failure isn't the end of the world. It's just confirming that maybe that way you're doing things isn't quite right. So
Yeah.
really getting your head round failure isn't about
Yeah.
stopping doing what you're doing. It's just maybe just readjusting because
Yeah.
that particular way you did it wasn't quite right.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm, uh, I love learning new things and always developing myself. And you won't learn or grow if you always get things right. And you won't learn and grow if you're absolutely frightened of failure. So you should be, and don't get me wrong, I've had to work on this over the years, but I embrace failure. I'm like, no, 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 failure is my friend. And actually, again, I read a lot of books and I listen to a lot of audiobooks. And I was reading Steve D. Sims' book, Blue Fishing, recently. And he talked about actually taking the word failure out of your language. And I'm sure he said there is a country where the word failure doesn't appear in their language,
Right.
or failing doesn't appear. Now I'm doubting myself. I'm pretty sure that's what it said. I'm going off to check the book. But
Yeah.
so in my mind, I'm now trying to replace the word failure with the word learning or
Yeah.
discovering. So, like, there's loads of famous quotes out there. Again, I love quotes, but, Thomas Edison, he said he didn't fail 10,000 times. He just found 10,000 ways that it didn't
Indeed.
work when he was developing the light bulb. J.K. Rowling was um, what's the word? She was refused, or whatever words, I can't think of the right words, but
Yeah.
basically she wasn't
Was
accepted.
rejected by publishers, wasn't she? Yeah.
Rejected, that's the word. Thanks much. Rejected by 12 publishers.
Yeah.
And and I think one of them said to her, go and take a writing course. I mean, really? So, she could have easily gone, oh, do you know, I forget this. I'm going to go and, I don't know, train to be a beauty therapist or something.
Yeah.
So, but you should embrace failure. And when you fail, the key thing is you learn from it. If you fail and you don't learn anything from it, then it was a complete waste.
Yeah.
Um, so don't be frightened of failure. You should want to fail, because by failing, you're finding new information and you're moving forward. And yeah, just absolutely get that mindset of change. If the word is a problem for you, well, then don't use the word failure. Use a different word. But absolutely, I'm really, really, really passionate about people stop being frightened of failing. Instead, think what could go right. Instead of thinking what could go wrong, think what could go right.
Yeah. Well, in NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, they said there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. I think that's a
Excellent.
good learning, isn't it? Saying that if it's just about learning something, so that it's the feedback you just got to learn from. So I think that's a
Absolutely.
good principle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. And we've covered failures. What about your own failures then, early doors then, Judith? I'm sure you've mentioned a few things that you made mistakes, early challenges that you had beginning of your business.
Oh, absolutely, Mark. I mean, first of all, I spent money on things I shouldn't have spent money on, and I think we've all been there. And I'm talking big money. I'm not talking 20 or 30 quid. Um, uh, I, I, I got it completely wrong in terms of my messaging, and I was trying to, and I use this word with all due respect, I was trying to convince my client, or convince my potential clients, of the things they needed. And it wasn't that I genuinely believed it's what they needed, and they did need it, but they didn't see it that way.
No.
I was using language and terms and calling, saying, oh, you need to do this, but that meant nothing to them. That's not how they saw it. And they did need it. It's just they didn't see it that way. So
Yeah.
once I started to look through the eyes of the buyer and think, right, what way do they see this thing? What way did they see their problems? What way did they see the outcome they want? It was a game changer for me. But, probably for a good couple of years, I struggled, because I was like almost getting cross with them internally, thinking, you need this, but you're just not biting. Like, I can see it, it's clear as day, you need this. But that's not, it doesn't, you have to look
Yeah.
at through their eyes, in their world. You have to sit in their shoes.
Yeah.
So I did struggle. I did struggle, getting clients at the start. Money. My turnover was low in the first couple of years, but eventually I got there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I also spent money on things that I shouldn't have spent money on. I
Anything
listened to
particular
people.
you want to share? What is that sort of
Yeah,
courses you did, I suppose? Was it?
I worked with a couple of coaches that, charged me, small fortune and promised me the earth, and I didn't get it. I
Right.
didn't, they just weren't right for me.
Yeah.
I don't think they understood what my business was. And, yeah, and I spent money on a website, but didn't do it. I got it done, on the cheap, and it didn't really bring me any value. And then I didn't like the website, and then I never pointed anybody to it, and all of that stuff.
It's so often that so many people have created websites and then they're sorry even too embarrassed to mention them, and they
Yeah,
wonder
of
why the
course
hell
they
they
are.
bothered. So there's a
Yeah,
lesson there. Don't start a website unless you know exactly what it's going to do for you and why you need it.
yeah,
And I think it's going back to marketing in general, though, isn't it? People don't really understand what marketing is, so they just like start, oh, try this and try that. But actually, it's only when you really get clear about what you offer and who you want to help. I think that's the biggest learning I've had, is that really being
yeah,
clear about
yeah,
those ideal clients and the problems that they have and how you help them. Once you've got that really clear in your head,
yeah,
then everything becomes a lot easier in that you know what you deliver, and also you know how to market that offer, whether it is in a website or whether it's in social
yeah.
media or etc. etc. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one of the learning topics in the Grow Her Business community that Elaine delivers, is being clear on the outcomes that you provide for your clients, and being clear where they hang out, how to find them, and all that stuff. So lots of, I think we've currently got 18 recorded learning sessions in the community. So any member who joins, if they join today, they get instant access to those 18 hours of training on there. So it's £37 a month at the moment, but it's going up to 49 on the 1st of August.
All
And
right, jump in quick
anyone who
then, quick.
anyone who joins before the 31st of July, their £37 a month is the price for
Right.
the entirety, as long as they stay with us.
Brilliant. Okay, excellent. Right, Judith, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to sit back. I'm going to share the 7-step model and connect it to what we've been talking about. So the 7-step model, as I mentioned earlier, starts with mirror. Understanding yourself is key. Understanding what drives you, what motivates you, understanding your behavioural styles, and more importantly, understanding your character strengths. And are you actually really using those strengths that you probably take for granted? And that's one of the things that you need either other people to tell you about, or you can do a diagnostic and understand actually what is it that really is my character strength that really sets me apart. Because the one thing that I'm sure Judith will agree is that we've got to be unique, but to do that we've got to really understand why we're unique and how we may be different than all the other people that do or deliver the same or similar service that we do. So the mirror part of the process is really important, understanding yourself, which I don't think a lot of people spend enough time doing. Once you've done that, you evaluate actually where you are today and where you want to be, and then work out what the steps are you need to take to get to where you want to be. So evaluation stage is the next step. And then once you've worked that out, then it's about time we took some action and did things and tried things out. And when things work, that's when we systemize them, make sure those things are, if they're important to our business, then they should be systemized so that we reproduce them. And most importantly, when we're growing and then when we start to grow a team, then those systems, you could just pass those systems over to other people to do. And that's how the business continues to grow and also continues to be consistent. The last 3 steps of the model are all about growing a team, unifying a team, reviewing the performance, and then energizing so that they can carry on your legacy and start taking decisions for themselves without you having to be involved. So that's the 7-step model. I want to go back to a few things that we've talked about with regards to what I'm going to talk about with regards to motivation. And so Judith mentioned the expert driver. So the expert is one of 9 motivations. We are all a combination of all these 9 motivations, but what we need to find out is which ones are the most important down to the ones that are least important. And all those motivations then become part of our makeup with regards to the decisions we make, because motivation's about the things that we want to do. And if we can do most of the time things that we want to do in business, then we're going to be far more productive and we're going to enjoy what we do. If we have the opposite, where we're doing most of the time doing things that we don't want to do and are not motivated by, then that's a bad situation, and it's not going to last very long, and you're certainly not going to be that successful. So expert is one of the things that we, when you're transitioning from a paid employment to a self-employed situation, then your expertise is really important, because obviously your expertise is what you're going to sell in most cases. But what we've got to realise, and Judith's already mentioned it, is that in an average room, we will be an expert in what we do, but we might not feel it because we compare ourselves to maybe other people that do what we do, which we see as them being more expertise than us. But the important thing is to remember that as long as you have a deep knowledge of what you do and it's superior to the people in your room, that's the key. And it can sometimes hold us back if we don't get that sort of mindset right. I've also made a couple of notes about marketing being a key to any successful business and transitioning from that employed to business owner. And the STAR is motivator is what I link mostly to marketing. So if the STAR is about getting noticed and recognised, then marketing is the same sort of thing, isn't it? We've got to be noticed. And if we've got the greatest product or service on earth and nobody ever finds out about it, then you're not going to be successful. So understanding that, realising that you need to get your message out there and get noticed is key. And if your STAR motivator is the thing that is least important to you, that might be the thing that's holding you back. So that's the marketing angle. And also we'll mention sales as one of the other challenges that people that are transitioning from employed to a business have got to get their head round. It's understanding the role that sales plays and really understanding that making the sale is the important thing. And also, you're not really selling anything as such. What you're doing is you are giving that person a solution to a problem. And that's how I get over it, is that it doesn't matter what your service does, as long as it serves a purpose for somebody, and that person will then buy it because it actually solves their problem. And that's the key.
Absolutely.
So there's a few things that I shared. Any comments on what I said there, Judith?
Oh gosh, Mark, I've got lots of comments, but the key ones are what you said about the mirror. I think it was in the majority of cases, you'll be setting a business up that there's lots of other people out there already doing. So you're not unique in that respect, but you are unique in so much as they won't be doing it the way you do it. They won't have your experiences and your specific slant on things. So you are unique. And then the other comment I'd make is the one about the sales. So again, that's something that's very, very commonly said is, oh, I can't set my own business up because I'm really not a salesperson. Well, if you are providing a good service or a good product, and you're clear about the outcomes, you won't be selling. You won't be selling so much as car salesman type selling. And if you get to the point where you feel you are having to be like a car salesman, then you are not doing something right. So don't be put off by setting up your own business because you feel you can't sell. Because if you get the messaging right, you're clear on the outcomes that you provide, the people with the pain points will come to you.
Brilliant. Great. Well, sadly, we've run out of time, Judith. I've really enjoyed our half an hour or so chatting. There's lots of things that we've agreed on there with regards to the early days of business and making sure we get our mindset right and all those sort of things. So thank you for sharing all that you've learned. And I wish you well with the growth of your Grow Her business. And thank you for your time today.
Oh, lovely. I've enjoyed every second, Mark. Thank you.
Brilliant. So thank you, Judith, for sharing her journey, and also about the people that she now is passionate about helping. So it sounds like if you're a female and you've been in employment and you want to set up your a business of, you've got an idea around it, then she's the sort of person, she can help you with that. And her membership sounds very interesting. So check that out. Right, just before we go then, just to mention the book again. In that book, the 7-step process, which I've just mentioned, is in there. There's also 2 other chapters. So there's 9 chapters in the book. The 2 other chapters are about looking after yourself and also making sure you enjoy the journey. So just another couple of snippets with regards to what's in the book. So if you'd like a copy of that book, you can buy me a couple of coffees. 2 cups of coffees will cost you £10, and I will put a copy of the book into the post for you. And would hopefully, if you find it useful, then it would be great to hear from you. If you don't, then don't tell anyone, please. No, but I jest. So there's lots in that book that I've shared with regards to my journey, what I've learned over the time, and most importantly, the things that I wish I knew sort of 10, 15 years ago when I was running my retail business before I set up my coaching business. Okay, so that's that for today. This is the last episode in season 2. Thank you for all the participants and all those that have got involved with the live events, and also anything that they've said in the comments with regards to the replay. So thank you for all those. We will be back shortly in a month or so with the start of season 3. Already got some great people lined up for that. And if you are interested on joining us, being a guest on the Motivated Business Show, then get in touch, and hopefully we can get you in the schedule for next season or a subsequent season to follow. Great. Well, thank you for those that enjoyed us live, and for anybody that catches this on replay, don't hesitate to leave a message for myself or Judith, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. But for now, take care. We'll be back soon, and we will look forward to restarting the Motivated Business Show. But until then, take care, and we'll see you very soon.